we have a special guest today, a very special guest today. So let me let me introduce you guys. So we have a former cornerback and running back for the San Pedro Pirates. He's also the singer and guitarist for our church band at the Living Bread Ministries. He is also a head chef and restaurant owner in the making. He is also the host of Bonafide Bites, which is a food page that is made to share his culinary journey and allow others to gain an appreciation for the food you cook, for the food you choose to eat, and the meals you choose to cook. So, without further ado, we have Marcus Farinas. What's up, bro?
What's up? Appreciate you having me on, man. Thanks for the introduction. Uh, yeah, just a little bit about myself. Shane kind of touched on some of the major points in my life, but as of right now, the biggest thing is that I'm just kind of on this journey to work in the food industry as a chef, trying to figure out what that's going to look like in the long run, my professional career, and just kind of trying to navigate this almost post grad life, trying to figure out life passions and motivations and stuff like that. So yeah, I appreciate you having me.
Yeah, of course. No problem, man. And, just want to share like all this stuff about you. And of course, even though like this is a sports podcast, we do got to talk about some sports. And I know, you're not that much into sports, but I don't know if you guys knew, but back in the day when we were probably in like elementary school or middle school, he actually played basketball for my dad's team when me and him were teammates, and we were both playing for the same team for Carson Park, and it was crazy because I think just your family's first time having like one of you guys play sports at a park. And I don't know, I just know that I heard there was some funny times with your dad going to like the games and like dropping me out to practice. So yeah, that was crazy.
Yeah, man. I don't know. Like, it's weird now because I'm definitely not so much into like professional sports or watching or being knowledgeable in that sense. But yeah, throughout my whole entire life, I've kind of been involved in sports, played sports. I've been pretty athletic person. But yeah, it's funny that you talk about my dad because my dad, although he is also an athletic person, he likes to be outdoors. He likes to do things same as me. Like he's not really into like professional sports or being too knowledgeable about professional sports in that sense. So yeah, it was kind of funny, a fun journey to just see him being supportive of me when I was younger in elementary school and even when I was in high school playing football and stuff and all the other sports in between. So yeah.
Yeah, it's just crazy. It's funny just because I know your family, and they're even when when Pastor Rye, when she would go to like Jess's games, she'd be like so confused, but still like she's always into it and all that stuff. But yeah, it's dope.
Yeah, definitely.
So I know you said that you're not really that much into like professional sports or mainstream sports, but given that you played uh football at Pedro, what got you into football?
Um, well, I think one of the main things is when I was transitioning from middle school to high school, I know that like a lot my friend group, a lot of them wanted to play football. And like I said, I've kind of just always been an athletic person and into like participating in sports and stuff. So when they talked about joining football, it just sounded interesting to me. Like just the sport of football is super interesting to me. And I feel like I've kind of am sort of an aggressive person too. So football kind of hits my wheelhouse there. Just being able to hit other people and get hit. And yeah, just the physicality of football compared to other sports is a little bit more interesting to me. Yeah.
Yeah, I'd say somewhat aggressive is it's kind of an understatement. Because if you know Marcus, he's always, whether it be good or bad, he's always with it. He's always ready for the smoke. Don't matter who it is, don't matter where it is. It could be at one of our basketball games. It could be in a parking lot. If someone just looks at us wrong, he's always ready. So if you need someone, if you need a bodyguard, hit him up. But still on the topic of football, a lot of you guys don't know this, but even though Marcus isn't like that pretty much into mainstream sports, his favorite team is the Atlanta Falcons. And I don't know if you guys, I know everyone knows about, the Patriots when they beat the Falcons in the Super Bowl. And I was sad myself. And I already know you were hella sad. So why why the Falcons?
Yeah, it's funny because it's such a weird story about why my favorite team is the Falcons. But in middle school, there was this iPhone game called Madden Mobile that I used to play with a bunch of
Madden
my friends.
Mobile.
Madden Mobile, yep. Some of you guys know the deal. That I used to play with my friends, and I don't know why, but I just picked the Falcons. And in the game, for some reason, in my mind, like I said, I didn't really know too much about professional sports or anything like that. But in the game, I was doing really good with the Falcons. So I was like, I mean, I have no other reason to pick any other football team. And at that time, the Rams wasn't a team. The LA Rams were not a team. So there was no LA based football team. I think there was like the Raiders. It's Cali, but it's not like LA, you know? So there was stuff like that. So I had no reason to pick any other team. So I just ended up picking the Falcons. And after like watching some of their games and learning a little bit more about them, like I know that they have some hard hitters like Matt Ryan and Julio Jones, you know, some big names and stuff like that. So yeah, that's just kind of why I stuck to the team too. And then they made it to the Super Bowl. They let me down, but nonetheless, hey, getting to the Super Bowl is kind of a big feat. So yeah.
I mean, even as a Dolphin fan, I'm still waiting for my team to make it to the Super Bowl
Yep.
or even to the playoffs. So you already had me there. So I know, like we mentioned earlier, that you're not really that much into like mainstream sports. So you're kind of into, I'd say, I wouldn't say weird, but kind of the, I guess, not well known or unconventional sports. So with spike ball, how would you even describe spike ball?
Um, yeah. So Spike Ball, it was just a game that like we kind of picked up at the beach. You know, like our friend group always goes to the beach all the time, and I feel like we are a pretty athletic and outdoorsy kind of group. So at the beach, like there was only before spike ball, there was only like a few sports that people would do at the beach, and it was either like volleyball or like just tossing the football around. And then with
Yeah,
both of those sports, it's kind of like for some reason not everybody was into one thing. Like if it was volleyball, only like a certain set of people would be into volleyball, and then same thing with football. So yeah, spike ball was really something that we picked up and our friend group really enjoyed. I would probably describe it as like it's kind of volleyball. That's the closest thing that you can kind of describe it to. I mean,
yeah.
I've never really like actually played volleyball, but it has very similar kind of how would I say, like tactics, movements, the way you play the game. That's the best thing. I don't know, it's kind of difficult. Maybe like volleyball and like ping pong.
No,
So
yeah, I definitely see the aspects of volleyball in it because obviously you see Jeremy and Kirsten play, and they're always like they're always like really good at it. So I guess since they know how to play volleyball, it's easy for them to I guess receive and set and spike the ball. So I guess that's a good way. But so when we go to the beach, you are always playing spike ball. You're always asking Jeremy, like, Jeremy, hurry up, set it up, bro. I'm trying to play spike ball. So why do you love playing spike ball?
I love playing spike ball because it's just like I said, it's a physical sport. It kind of gets your blood running, and I enjoy that kind of stuff. I've like I said previously, like I've always just enjoyed being athletic and being into sports and stuff like that. And that, like I said, that was a sport that we were all into. That was the thing that a lot of us wanted to play and a lot of us got good at. So I'm also very competitive. And when I see other people getting good, it just makes me want to be better. So that's kind of like why I got into spike ball too.
Yeah, and I don't know if you guys know, but there's a lot like I wouldn't say it's getting up there with the top sports, but you'll see it like on ESPN like every like once in a while like colleges have like spike ball teams and all
Mhm.
that stuff and it's crazy. Like it's actually like I'd say it's becoming like a real like actual like sport.
Yeah,
It's not
like
like a hobby type of thing.
yeah, you can definitely like win money in tournaments and stuff like that. And like you said, they're like featured on ESPN every now and then. So I like every time I go to the beach too, there's usually like one other set of people playing spike ball. So it's pretty
Yeah.
popular. Yeah.
Yeah, I remember one time where like pretty much right next to us or even like there's so many other people like you have like you said you have the usual football, you have volleyball nets out there and but people are still playing spike ball and like years ago like maybe like a few years ago no one even knew about it. So it's just crazy. But yeah, like so at the beach, you have the waves, you have the ocean, and since you are a man of not, I guess, the mainstream sports, you do go out there, you like I'd say half of the guys, like you guys were into surfing, right? But you especially, you were into more of like bodyboarding. And not to say like you can't surf, but you do like go to the beach to bodyboard. So why bodyboarding? Why do you love bodyboarding?
Well, I picked up bodyboarding over surfing just because I feel like bodyboarding is the first kind of thing that we're introduced to as kids in the water. Like everybody just buys that
Sure.
like whatever kind of bodyboard from Target or and then it's super easy to pick up and it's super fun to just like ride the waves in some white water and stuff. So knowing like my uncle Rick had a few bodyboards, so every time we went to the beach, I would kind of borrow some of his and mess around and stuff. So when Christian was into surfing, I don't know exactly what led me to bodyboarding in particular. I think it was also too because bodyboarding not only can you ride prone, which is like laying down, but there's two other styles. There's a drop knee, which is basically you have one knee down, and then you can even do stand up, so you can basically almost like surf with a bodyboard. So just the versatility. Like if you're really good, you can do aerials, you can do backflips and stuff like that, and just like there's a range of motion for some reason that bodyboard has over surfing. So that's why I kind of picked it up too. So and I just really like being out of the water. So out in the water. So that's why I like bodyboarding.
Yes. Do you know if there are like any, I guess, like contests or like professional like contests for bodyboarding?
Oh yeah, definitely. I know that in Hawaii, like I know that surfing is of course a big thing, but bodyboarding is way more popular out there in Hawaii professionally than it is
Really?
here in Cali and stuff like that. Like um, the grandfather of all bodyboarding, Mike Stewart, he has his own brand and stuff like that, and he's really popular. A lot of these big names in bodyboarding have won like a lot of tournaments, a lot of big money, and are just like famous in that sense. And I think if you're in that kind of world of like bodyboarding, surfing, body surfing, all of that kind of stuff, like um, I feel like with all professional sports, like once there's like a big following, then they start creating tournaments. Same thing with spikeball. You can get money and stuff like that. So I think, um, yeah, I don't know where I was going with that, but
It's okay. No, but yeah, there is probably like I don't know about bodyboarding that much, but I'm sure that there's a big like following that's rising with it, along with spikeball too, and just other like different sports. So it's cool to see that it's not just you know like the typical sports like basketball, football,
mm,
and baseball and all that stuff. Like I'm pretty sure you like of course as an athlete you love like you can play all those sports because you're an athletic person. So I'd say yeah, it's good to just have it kind of have like evenly, I wouldn't say evenly, but more distributed to like every other sport. That was pretty cool.
yeah, I think definitely the appeal of those sports a little bit now, um, more so even in quarantine, is just the fact that the amount of people needed to play and participate in the sport is a lot less. For example, bodyboarding, like literally I can just go out, just me anytime, wherever, kind of thing. So I don't have to like wait for other people or depend on other people. And with spike ball, it's only like four people that you only need to play and like not a lot of space compared to like basketball or football or baseball. You need to have two very large teams of
Yeah.
people and like a designated area to play. So I think that's why it's just a little bit more appealing and a little bit more accessible to participate in those kind of like unconventional sports.
Yeah, it makes sense because football, you can't just play football by yourself. You need someone else to play with you. And same with, I mean, basketball, you can't play by yourself, but you need to go to a park and you have to go get a court and you have to get like so many other things. Same with baseball too. Like baseball, you like a whole team is 10 people. The same
Yeah,
with football, you need 11. So that does make sense how, you can just play those sports or you train or practice whatever just by yourself. So it is easier to play. It makes sense.
yeah,
But yeah, so like given that those sports are getting more popular, a popular sport nowadays is boxing. And so I know that like maybe like a few months ago you kind of picked up boxing, kind of it piqued your interest. So why, when did, I guess specifically, did this love or interest for boxing begin?
Um, well, it definitely happened during quarantine for sure. My dad especially has always been into boxing. When I was young, we actually did a good amount of training in boxing, but I was young and I was into other things. So I wasn't really interested in putting in the hard work and effort of like training boxing. But now that I'm older and now that physical education is a lot more important, and just being physical and working out and stuff like that is a lot more important. Um, I just picked up boxing just because my dad had a bunch of old boxing stuff laying around, and being a Filipino, you know, you have like um, Manny Pacquiao to like look up to and stuff like that, one of the legends in boxing. Um, so yeah, it's just kind of like a history that my family has had because of my dad, really, who's like just been really into boxing, and we just had a lot of stuff for it. You know, we had a heavy bag for like the longest time, and then like I said, again, I've kind of been like a slightly aggressive person, so it's kind of like a good way to
Slightly.
just slightly, you know, just a good way to kind of release some stress, some tension and stuff. And then at the end of the day, like it's just like a good thing to know. Combat sports, I think, is a really good thing to kind of just have in the back of your mind, just even like to know the basics. God forbid whatever you get into a street fight or whatever, I know that there's no rules in street fighting, but just having like a basic concept of
Foundation.
like how to actually fight, you know, and like
Yeah.
techniques and stuff like that kind of gives you an upper edge over somebody that doesn't, you know. And nobody wants to look dumb in a fight, like nobody's trying to get knocked out or anything
Yeah.
like that, so it's just good to know.
Yeah. Like if you see street fights, like obviously, like it looks so bad. Like
Yeah.
it's like even like what you said, when you start boxing, because I kind of picked up boxing just like, obviously not to like train to fight someone,
Hmm.
but kind of just, just to pick it up for a good workout, or for, just like to be prepared. So it kind of does, for me personally, like it gave me the confidence that, if someone like try to mess with me or something happened, like God forbid, like I'm not that much of an aggressive person like you. I'm very much of a person that's like, if it happens, like if someone, like I'm gonna try to avoid the altercation, the conflict as much as possible. But if it happens to, if someone happens to come up to me and like try to test me, and obviously like we got our boys out there,
Yeah.
we got a whole army out there. But if someone were to happen, like now that I started boxing, it kind of gave me the confidence
Hmm.
to, be able to defend myself,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah, like I said, like you don't need to be like a professional boxer or anything to like, you don't need to get up to that rank or whatever. Like just knowing the basics is kind of good enough for like your average Joe Schmo like us. So
Yeah, exactly. And so I know that you mentioned Manny Pacquiao earlier, and I know this might be a dumb question given that we're both Filipino, but do you have a favorite boxer?
yeah, I mean, definitely, of course, it's Manny for sure. The pride and joy of the Philippines, and it's just like it's hard to not love him. You know, he's so humble and
Yeah,
he's so like a good character. And being Filipino, like I feel like all Filipinos can kind of just like laugh and have fun at like his post fight interviews
I
and
felt
his
selected because
accent and stuff like that,
I
and
did
just the
my
way
best
like you just gotta
in the
love him.
fight
So
and
and
also
not
in
only is he
training.
just like a good person and like fun to watch and stuff like that, but he's man, he can fight. That fool, he can fight. So it's just of course Manny Pacquiao. But I mean, I've been talking to like a few people recently with like kind of I feel like this kind of surge of boxing coming up. I mean, at
yeah,
least in my world and stuff like that. And I used to swear by the fact that Manny Pacquiao was the best fighter in history. Like he was the best. But
yeah,
I mean, now that like I've kind of known, did a little bit more research and kind of getting into the fundamentals and what makes somebody a good boxer, not saying that Manny Pacquiao is not one of the best because he definitely is, and that's
yeah,
undisputable. That's undisputable
for sure, for
fact
sure.
that he's one of the best boxers in history. But you got to give credit where credit is due, and Mayweather is definitely a beast in his own right. For sure, and it was hard to admit that because Manny and Mayweather have a history. They have like
Yup.
kind of like a rivalry and stuff, and it's hard to admit that your rival is better than you. But you know, you got to give credit where credit is due. So
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, exactly. Because, you know, I started getting into, not just boxing, but kind of like combat sports in general. But there's so many good boxers like I didn't even know about. Like there, of course, you have Floyd, who's arguably the GOAT. Like even though like his fighting style isn't the most popular, he does get wins, and he is, what is he, 50-0 in
Yeah.
his record. And you have so many other great fighters like back in the day. You have Sugar Ray Leonard. You have,
Hmm.
of course, Mike Tyson. You
Hmm.
have, so many other greats, George Foreman, so on and
Muhammad
so forth. But
Ali.
even nowadays, like you have great fighters like we talked about earlier, like yesterday. We talked about, you know, uh, Ryan Garcia, who's really popular, but who's actually really good. You have Lomachenko. You
Lomachenko, yeah.
have Canelo, uh, Terrence Crawford. You have so many great fighters, and even though there's so many great fighters, and you have Ryan Garcia, who's really popular, especially in social media, you do have celebrity fighters. Like you have the Paul brothers, Jake Paul, Logan Paul. You have other celebrities who just want to step in the ring, and whether it be to really, like, I guess, showcase their skill, or to be an actual, like, professional boxer or whatever, or to collect a bag. What are your thoughts on celebrity boxing?
Um, I don't know. It's kind of difficult. I feel like there's kind of two ways to go about it. I feel like
Yeah,
if you're doing celebrity boxing or whatever, just to like, yeah, get some money, get a bag, then portray it as that, like go into the ring, do whatever you want, get your money. But then my whole thing is I've had this thing with Jake Paul recently and what he's been doing in the
you guys
boxing.
got beef?
Nah,
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 I'm just
not
kidding. I'm just
beef.
kidding.
Definitely not beef. I mean, like I said, you got to give credit where credit is due, and like I'm not gonna lie and say that I'll beat Jake Paul in a fight or whatever because I won't. Like like I know that he puts the work in, and I know that he is yeah, putting the work in to be a good fighter and stuff. But what bugs me in that whole celebrity fighting thing, celebrity boxing world, is that like don't claim to be a real fighter and not fight real fighters, like I said, you got to
100%.
credit where credit is due. Jake Paul is a strong dude. Like he's knocked people out, and like I mean that Ben Askren
All
fight
of his
was
fights.
that was kind of nuts, that Ben Askren fight. And I was kind
Yeah.
of trying to defend my boy Ben, just because like yeah, he's a professional fighter, like he knows what he's doing and stuff like that. But you got to give credit where credit's due. But it just kind of bugs me for Jake Paul to try to claim that he's a real fighter and a real boxer when he hasn't even fought any real fighters or real boxers.
Yeah.
So that's kind of my standpoint. There's people that have been doing this since they were like a really really
Kids.
young age and have like worked really hard to get into the ring, to get like notoriety, to get their name up. And there are people that are like monumentally better fighters than Jake Paul that are not even being noticed and that put in like so much work and effort. And like I said, I know that Jake Paul does put in a lot of work and effort, but he's definitely 100% using his platform to get his name up in the boxing world,
Yeah.
as opposed to, and what I mean when I say putting in the hard work, I mean fighting real boxers, as opposed to like putting in that kind of work of like fighting actual people that like fight boxing. He fought Ben
Yeah.
Askren, who's like a 30-plus-year-old retired fat MMA fighter who doesn't know how to strike. He fought like Nate Robinson, who's a basketball player who doesn't even box, and another YouTuber, and he wants to say that he's a real fighter. So that's what kind of
Yeah.
kind of bugs me.
Yeah. I think he has. To be honest, I I wouldn't say I'm a fan, but I'm kind of neutral on him,
Mhm.
on the Paul brothers. I'd say I'm probably more of a fan of Logan more than Jake, because Jake is Jake. But you know, I'd say outside of the opponents he's had, I'd say he's probably, like, he kind of has all the aspects of a, I wouldn't say a professional fighter, but definitely, like, I guess, a boxer in some ways, because he has a team, he has a whole team. I think he has Shane Mosley coaching him.
Yeah.
He's had spars with apparently professional boxers, and he's murked all of them. And he kind of, it just depends, because he's kind of, I wouldn't say he's a genius, but he's really smart in what he's
Mhm.
doing.
Yeah.
If he's trying to collect the bag, he's a genius. But if he's trying to, like, actual, like, be like a, I guess, a traditional, like, a real legitimate boxer, I don't know about that, because obviously his opponents. But he's smart because He's he's fought a YouTuber, a YouTuber being a YouTuber. He already accomplished that. Then a YouTuber being an athlete, a crazy athlete in Nate Robinson, and now he's moved on to a YouTuber knocking out, a former champion, a former, UFC. Even though he's not, like you said, the greatest striker, he's more known for his wrestling. He did beat him. He did, he slept him. Whether it was staged or not, he still knocked him out. But I heard that he's already calling out more like UFC fighters. Like, I heard
Mhm.
that he's calling out Nate Diaz. He's called out Tyron Woodley. Just more of like actual like strikers, you
Mhm.
know. And I think his goal, I think he said his goal is to fight Conor McGregor, and they've
Yeah.
had this ongoing beef. So yeah, like there's two ways to look at it. There's different ways to look at it.
Yeah, and like to be really honest, even with my current standpoint on like how he's affecting the boxing world and stuff like that, I honestly do want to see him succeed. I do want to see him get into the boxing world and be good at what he does and fight real boxers and win
Yeah,
and put his name out there because that does show people that you
you
don't
could do
have
it.
to train since you're like 11 years old to get into the boxing ring and work your way up and stuff like that.
Mm,
And like, like that is the traditional way to do it. But like, if that is a passion that you want to pursue, then like start today. You know what I mean? You can do that.
yeah,
And I feel like Jake Paul, granted, it is a different story because he does have a lot more resources. He does have a lot more money to hire like the
that's
best
true.
team and to kind of like take I don't want to say shortcut because he is putting in the work, but a shortcut in the sense of like the resources he has. He
Yeah,
does have that kind of leg up on people, but still, that still doesn't take away from the fact that he's starting kind of at a late age.
yeah,
How do you know how old Jake Paul is? It's like 20. I think he said he's like 24, right?
yeah. He's young,
Yeah, he's young.
mid
He's young, but I
twenties.
mean, a lot of these boxers, for example, again, like Manny Pacquiao, Floyd Mayweather, like the greats, they started when they were like sub 15 years old. These like they were like
Yeah,
kids fighting, basically. Um, so I feel like if Jake Paul really does succeed and he really does put his name out there to be a real boxer, fighting real boxers and winning in that sense, um, then yeah, it is kind of like an inspiring story that like, hey, if this is what you're excited about and this is like your passion, your dream, go chase that. You know what I mean? And just go do what you need to do that. So
yeah. That makes sense because, you know, a lot of boxers, a lot of athletes in general, when they go into the professional realm, they do start from, training as a kid. Like, I don't know if you know, but what's her name? The Williams sisters for tennis,
yeah,
Serena and
yeah,
Venus. There's like clips of them just starting, training as they were kids. Same with like Tiger Woods and all those. But I know there's boxers and well, just combat sports athletes like I think Deontay Wilder. He started like his first time he put on gloves was I think like 2 years before he fought in the Olympics, before he boxed in the Olympics.
that's nuts.
And I think Francis Ngannou, he started really late too, and he had like maybe like a few amateur fights before his first UFC fight. So just like with Jake Paul, you can start late. It just matters kind of if you have, if you're athletic enough and you kind of, have that in you. But yeah, it probably is, inspiring if he does accomplish, being like an actual like real like I guess traditional legitimate professional boxer instead of like a celebrity boxer. But I don't know. It's a lot of stuff going on with that dude.
Mhm.
Yeah. But yeah, like you said, it's important for people to learn to fight, because if someone like Jake, who's probably constantly being harassed and all that, if someone were to come up on him, he needs to know how to box. And we both know that boxing isn't the only way of fighting. There's plenty more ways of fighting, and that's why they have the sport of mixed martial arts where it can encompass and incorporate every single thing that you learn. That's why Ben Askren was really popular in MMA, and he was really good. He won multiple championships with multiple organizations, and we all know that the UFC is the cream of the crop. They have everyone. when people think of MMA, they think of the UFC.
Yeah.
And I know you're not that much, up to date or kept up with the UFC, but do you have a favorite UFC fighter?
Um, do I have a favorite UFC fighter? I wouldn't say favorite because, like I said, like I don't have a lot of knowledge, so I would just probably be picking some big names and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But
I mean, that's fine. They're big names because they're good.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I don't know. I just feel like it's a cop out answer. I guess. I mean, like a lot of people don't like Conor McGregor, but like I said, you gotta give credit where credit is due. The man can fight. Like, a big thing was that Floyd Mayweather and Conor McGregor fight that I remember. Again, I was rooting for Conor McGregor because he's like, you know, like that man can
He's not
fight, and
Floyd.
yeah, yeah, that man can fight in a UFC ring where the stakes I feel like are so much higher than boxing, which I could be wrong with that,
Yeah.
um, but yeah, I guess like Conor McGregor, I grew up hearing about BJ Penn a lot. I think BJ Penn isn't he like Filipino or something like that?
He's Hawaiian.
He's Hawaiian, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, he is a name that I grew up hearing a lot. My family's actually really into UFC too, more than boxing. I have a few uncles who have done some UFC training and stuff like that. Um, they know like a lot about grappling. So yeah, I guess if I was to pick one, I guess it would just be McGregor though. I don't really know
Okay.
why.
That makes sense. And I mean, a lot of people their favorite fighters is Conor McGregor, and for different reasons. Obviously, he has people like his trash talking, people like the way he just I guess intimidates people and gets in their head.
Mm,
But obviously, people they like his style of fighting because he's a striker and he's one of the best, if not he's one of the best of all time.
mm,
So that makes sense. But for some reason, like I feel like for a person I'd recommend to you, a fighter I'd recommend to you to watch and like kind of just, I guess, keep up with is Max Holloway. I'm pretty sure
oh
you've heard
yeah,
of him. Yeah,
yeah,
because
definitely.
he's from Hawaii, but also his fighting style is really exciting.
Hmm.
He's not only is he like a striker, but he's more known for his boxing,
Hmm.
and I guess it kind of like brings together those two worlds. And
Hmm.
so, yeah, that's one person you can look forward to
Yeah,
because he's hella good. He's really good.
definitely. I
And
actually totally forgot about Max. Um, and yeah, he's definitely one of the names that I look out to for sure. In the same way, like he reminds me of Manny Pacquiao. Manny Pacquiao.
yeah, very similar.
Yeah, Manny Pacquiao like grew up in like a province in the Philippines, like with like nothing, whatever, and he made his way up to be like one of the best in the sport, and to be very successful. And I think Max Holloway is on the road to that and is also accomplishing that. Grew up in like a small town in Waianae, and just made it out the cut through like hard work and his drive, and he's really good at what he does. Like you said, he's definitely fun to watch. He's confident in his skills. So yeah, I totally forgot about Max, but I definitely had my eye on him too for sure.
Yeah, bro. Like I have some family that live nearby his house,
Yeah.
so it's crazy. But yeah, I feel like because we box, and so I know that your style is kind of it's very like it's a lot of I guess it's fast paced. It's not I wouldn't say there's not a lot of power, but it's more there's a lot of pace. So you have to keep up with it. So I feel like your style is kind of similar to his in a way.
Hmm.
But yeah, so aside from boxing, like I mentioned, there's a lot of forms of fighting. So would you want to learn like any other forms of fighting or self defense? Like I'm not trying to say I'm trying to teach you, but like are you because I can barely box myself, but would you be down to learn like any other forms of fighting?
Hmm. Yeah, no, definitely I would. And like I said, like um what we were talking about earlier with like street fights and stuff like that. Not saying that like they're so common that you have to know or else you're gonna get like mocked or anything like that, but it's just something nice to know, like it's a good skill to know and it's a good form of cardio. So for sure, I definitely would be interested in learning other forms of MMA, like mixed martial arts and stuff like that. I've done some training before. Like I said, my uncles were really into MMA and UFC and stuff like that, and they trained and stuff. And so I've learned a little bit of like grappling, just a little bit. But yeah, I would definitely be into it for sure.
That's dope. Yeah, because you never know when you come across a guy who's like a black belt in jiu-jitsu and you can't,
Yeah.
can't get off him. But like we mentioned earlier that we box, I guess more for like obviously to learn how to fight, but to also, get a good workout. And I know you just came from a workout. You just worked out. So what's a typical workout for you?
Um, well, my typical workout is I try to run. I do a lot of cardio basically. A lot of my stuff is cardio. So my typical workout would probably be run a few miles. I'm trying to work my way up into like my endurance and stuff like that. So run a few miles. I'm getting into jump rope a lot. So maybe like 10 minutes of jump rope. And I know that it doesn't sound like a lot, but jump rope is actually pretty
Bro,
killer. So 10 minutes is kind of long.
I bet your
Um,
calves are jacked.
yeah, yeah. And it actually does work out. It's like a whole body workout really, like if
Yeah.
you're able to focus on different muscles and feel out where like the muscles are working, you kind of feel you do feel like it's working on your whole body. So yeah, I'll probably do a little bit of jump rope, and then depending on the day, I'll either do strength training, which is like push-ups, lifting, like a little bit of weights, or I'll do like this boxing routine that I have, just working, trying to like focus on my form really,
Hmm.
and my endurance in that sense, because yeah, it's like a really good cardio. So that's kind of like average what I do every time I work out: run, jump rope, and either like strength training or boxing. Yeah.
Yeah. So why do you like cardio based workouts? You know?
Um, yeah, no, cardio is kind of tough, but I just really like to be more physical, and physical in the sense of like my athleticism and enjoying to participate in sports and stuff like that. Like I noticed, I actually kind of just recently started to getting more serious about working out in the past 3 months ish. I don't even know. It hasn't been too long, basically. Like it definitely was not since the beginning of quarantine. That was like last year. And I wouldn't even say halfway during quarantine. So maybe like, yeah, about 4-ish months, give or take a month.
Yeah.
Um, and yeah, just the fact that I really like participating in sports and stuff. Like I would try playing basketball with you guys or doing spike ball or bodyboarding and stuff like that, and I would notice that my endurance and my like stamina is really low, and I would
Like you're
just
out of
get
breath.
yeah, I would just get out of breath and winded and tired really easily. And that's kind of like something that I don't want to lose. Like a part that I don't want to lose about myself is my athleticism, and just being able to kind of like pick things up and like run with it and just go. Um, so I know a lot of people are into like working out, meaning like strength training and lifting and stuff like that. And although that is something that I have done in the past, I guess my goals right now are just different. Like I'm not trying to get like jacked or strong, even really. Like I just want to be have more endurance and have more stamina and be able to participate in like sports without being tired really quickly.
Yeah. No, I get that because you know a lot of our friends they're very much into powerlifting.
Hmm.
Like they work out and they do their different workouts. And there's some people who are more interested in building their muscle and bodybuilding. So it kind of does like depend on you know your goals
Yeah.
of what you want to achieve. So I get what you're saying. But yeah,
Yeah.
like you don't like even though you just started kind of getting into working out recently, like say like a few months ago, like you didn't I to be honest, like you're already an athlete and you already do a bunch of like different sports. So it's not like you kind of needed to start working out. It was just more of like a plus or to enhance it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's just, yeah, like what you said, to enhance my performance and to just be better at what I do. Like I kind of have a thing for myself where my competitive nature kicks in whatever I'd want to do. And there's a phrase that a lot of people like to use of like, what is it called? jack of all trades, master of none. And although
Yeah.
it is nice to know a lot of things, I mean, I want to be a master at some things, you know? Like I want to be good at some things. Like I don't want to just be like average at everything, you know? So being able to have more endurance in the athletic and in like the sports kind of field allows me to outperform other people and be better in that sense. So
Yeah.
yeah.
I mean, shoot. Like it's good to be a master at some things, and it's also be good to be a jack of all trades. I like to be like informational wise and knowledge wise. I kind of like to be a jack of all trades, even though I guess my specialty is in sports.
Uh,
But it's just because it's a passion of mine. But I noticed that one passion of yours is music, especially singing.
yeah,
So as a master of singing, you know,
definitely.
why do you love to sing?
Well, I would not consider myself a master at singing in
I
any
don't
way,
know
shape,
about that,
or form
bro.
of the sense. Like, yes, I can sing. I do know how to sing, but I would not, definitely not a master. That would have to be under the Jack category. um, but I don't know. I just really like to sing because I really like music. My family, again, I get a lot of my hobbies and interests from my family. My family has been really, uh, my dad in particular also has been into music as well. Like he's learned and known how to play the guitar for a really long time. One of my uncles, my uncle John Mark, is really, really extremely talented in playing the electric guitar. Um, and another one of my uncles, my uncle OJ, is really talented in playing the drums, you know, so it kind of just runs in my family, music. And I feel like music is just one of those things that hits people differently. You know, I feel like
Mm,
for some reason, music just connects with us on a different level as human beings in different ways. And like on the mental and the spiritual, it is just different. And my way to kind of connect with that music is singing. So um, I feel like listening to music is a way for me to experience that, but then singing is a way for me to turn that experience outward and kind of not like, no, I wouldn't say share it to other people, but just for me to express my enjoyment of music. That's why I really like to sing. Yeah.
yeah, like or like your whole family, like I guess participated in our church band, like in
Mm.
for the church. So yeah, it definitely runs in your blood. And yeah, I get what you're saying because a lot of people, some people, they have different forms of, I guess, expressing themselves, whether it be through different passions or just talking, or just whatever. But a lot of people, they like to sing. Like some people, like myself, I like to sing,
Mhm.
but I would never fancy myself a singer, never ever. But I get what you're saying, Kyle. Like you can really express yourself and just like show, I guess, who you really are by their music, because
Mhm.
how people say like it's a real like a love language is one of mine is like sharing a playlist, sharing some music. So you kind of do learn something about people just by the music they like,
Yeah.
or the music they like to sing. So do you have like a favorite artist, like a musical artist?
That's a tough question.
Top five.
Top five? That's even a harder question.
Okay, never mind. Just one.
Yeah. I mean, a favorite artist, I probably don't have a favorite artist, but the
Okay.
first artist that does come to mind is Bruno Mars, and I wouldn't say that like he's my
Because it's
favorite.
Filipino.
Yeah, I mean, well, one, he's
I was
Filipino,
kidding.
but I wouldn't say that he's my favorite, as in like, oh my
All
gosh, I
time.
love everything, you know, or like.
Yeah.
But the reason why he comes to mind is just because looking at his track record and his music, like I remember listening to his music in like high school, in middle school, you know, like throughout
Yeah.
my life. And I just feel like for
He's
me
still good.
personally, Bruno Mars doesn't miss. Like like his music, like
Oh,
every
you're
time
not
he lets
wrong.
out, right? Like every time he lets out a track, like it's like, dude, this is good. Like, and I wouldn't even say, I would say that his genre for the most part is pop, for the
Yeah.
most part. And I don't even really enjoy pop music too much. Like I definitely would not say that that's my favorite genre.
Yeah.
But yeah, his music is just like, it's not even like I said, okay, music kind of connects to people like a spiritual level and stuff like that, and like a
Yeah.
mental, like just deep for some reason. And I wouldn't say that his music connects to me like deep like that,
Yeah.
but it's just good. Like I can't really say that any other artist doesn't miss for me. Like
Yeah.
every artist that I can think of is like, oh, like this is good, but then this is like less good.
Yeah.
I would say
Everything.
right now, currently, one of my favorite artists is Giveon. Um,
Mm.
yeah, I mean, I guess
Givion's
that's like
fire.
super mainstream. A lot of people would say Giveon, but yeah, I don't know. I just really like his stuff too.
Yeah. And bro, like if you go to a party, you're gonna hear one of Bruno Mars's songs,
Yeah.
at least one. And like his music, I wouldn't say like obviously early on in his career, I'd say it was pretty much pop,
Hmm.
but nowadays, like even with 24K Magic, there's that album, there was kind of some pop, but there's different genres in
Yeah,
his
it's like a lot
music.
of funk. Definitely
Yeah,
a lot
there's a
of
lot of
funk.
funk, and even his most recent song that came out with Anderson Paak,
Yeah,
was it Leave the Door Open? Bro, that song
that song.
slaps. And it's because I feel like that's more of his like, I'm not saying like I know him like he's my buddy or something,
Mhm.
but like I feel like that's more of like his genre, like
Yeah,
R&B, slow type of music.
yeah, yeah. Definitely. I would definitely like to see him explore that genre more,
Yeah.
especially after seeing this past song and like you said, 24. Um, yeah, I think he really excels in that genre and would love to see more of that from him.
Yeah, for sure. And like I don't know, it's kind of different, and it's kind of what I personally like. I'd say R&B is probably my favorite
Mhm.
genre. So what is your favorite genre,
Yeah, I mean,
or do you have
definitely,
a favorite?
yeah, I would definitely agree with you that I would just say that R&B is probably my favorite genre. But I feel like my music taste is very broad. I feel like I enjoy a lot of things. I
Yeah.
enjoy R&B. There are some pop songs that I like. For the longest time, a few years ago, the only thing that I would listen to was like old school music, and not like old school
Oh yeah, I
like
remember that.
Usher, and like not like 2000s kind of
Like
old
older,
school, like older, like
80s,
50s,
90s. Oh,
60s, like old music.
dang.
No offense to all the people that were like no offense to all the people that were like in
They
that
suck
era.
nowadays.
No, like
Just
nobody
kidding.
listens to that kind of music nowadays. And I really, really, really love that kind of music because it's real, because it's like genuine, because it was created by people. And
Mm.
not saying that this day and age music was not created by people, because technically, yes, a person did create the music, but
Oh
like
yeah, I get what you're saying.
yeah, the fact that it was like computer generated, and it's like a lot of stuff that comes out of like, yeah, like tracks and
Yeah,
computer this and that and all that stuff. But like old school music was like, for music to sound good, you had to be good at playing an instrument, you know,
yeah,
and you had to have that kind of skill, which I feel like a lot of people don't have nowadays. And that's why, going back to Leave the Door Open, I feel like that song is really good, because it kind of does go back to that era of old school music, and kind of does go back to that time where, like, it is playing a
hmm,
good instrument. Like, you have to know how to play the instrument well for the song to sound good. And Anderson Paak's performance on the drums was really, really good in that sense. And same thing with Bruno Mars, the fact that he's able to play the piano and sing at the same time, and
yeah.
Anderson Paak, that he was able to play the drums and sing at the
And
same time. I feel
sing,
like
bro.
playing drums and singing at the same time is a very, very difficult thing to do. So like I said, just having that skill elevates the song to just like another, for me personally, just like a deeper level.
No, yeah, I get that because like they didn't have computers. They didn't have like, of course they had a studio, but they didn't have like anything like that. Like
Yeah.
nowadays, they don't have all the fancy technology that we have. So you do have to be like actually good at that instrument. You can't like even like with auto tune. Like even though there's a lot of great singers, like you said, Givion's a great singer,
Mhm.
Bruno Mars, and the list goes on. And on. There's so many great singers nowadays, but back then you had no like I guess filters like voice filters or auto tune to help you sound good. Like you had to sound good. You know what I mean? So
Mhm.
I get what you're saying. Oldies is fire, bro. But
Yeah.
sometimes the lyrics can be wild. And because they just say whatever sometimes.
It was definitely a different time. They wrote about a lot of different things for sure. And I think that's another reason why I like that kind of music a lot more, is just because the music that is created now, like sometimes
It's
a
kind of
song will
bland.
take off because it's just catchy and because the
Yeah.
song is good. But the meat, the juice, the like heart of the song is kind of like empty for me.
Hmm.
I'm not saying that I don't enjoy those songs, because everybody loves a good catchy song that just like kind of sticks in your brain.
Hmm.
But yeah, when I think about music in the sense of like what really hits me and why I really appreciate music, it definitely has to be those older songs that were just performed really well in every aspect, and the lyrics come from like a real place, you know.
Yeah, I get that. Because yeah, like you said, it is nice to be listening to a catchy song because you can groove out to it. It's easy to sing, but like you said, with the verses, with the actual lyrics of it, when like oldies, like I don't know, for this like the music I listen to for oldies, and I'm pretty sure you listen to, it's a lot of love music, like a lot
Yeah,
of love, slow R&B music that really like kind of hits you. So I guess that's why, because people just miss feeling like an actual genuine song. It's not just a song to just make money. Like if you look at the top songs or the top the hot Billboard or whatever, a lot of it is like a lot of it is TikTok songs, bro, and they're
yeah,
like kind of
they're just like catchy songs, you know.
yeah.
And it just reminds me of like my mom. I remember when I was growing up, my mom would always just whenever we were listening to the song, she would always say that like, well, what do the lyrics say? Like, or like we would be listening to a song and then my mom would like it and she'd be like, oh, what's the lyrics of the song? Like, what is the song called? So that she can read the lyrics and see what
Hmm.
the song is like really saying. And I really kind of use that and adopt that into my criteria of like what is good music, you know.
Yeah, yeah. A lot of people they value, just like with working out. People value different things.
Yeah.
Some people like you, they value the lyrics a lot and like the meaning behind it, and some people they like the musicality, the instruments behind it. So
Mm,
it's just different, but yeah, it is important to learn the lyrics. But I noticed there's like just like boxing, there's a rise in like I guess foreign type of music,
mm.
with with what's the name, Bad Bunny,
Yeah.
with Latino Spanish speaking music, and even we both watch animes, and we have an anime playlist,
Uh,
and we just vibe out to that type of music. And you have different types. Like you have from other countries, like from Korea, you have the Korean
mm,
music, and with those groups popping out. So I just want to get like your thoughts on, I guess, foreign music becoming not just popular internationally, because obviously they're popular where their language is spoken, but
mhm,
just it's really popular in the U.S. You know what I
mm.
mean?
Oh,
And so yeah.
so yeah, I don't know. I just think that that's a really good thing for like international like foreign music to grow and have a greater following here in the States, you know. One perfect example of that is BTS. You know, like how K-pop and BTS literally was like so huge here and they had like a great following and stuff like that. And I just feel I really appreciate that, you know, how people are able to enjoy other musics from different cultures. And I think the reason why is just because other people are interested in other people's cultures, you know. Other
Mhm.
people are interested in things that are foreign to them that they aren't comfortable with, you know. You hear the same thing over and over and over again, um, with like American artists and stuff like that, and you try to find a new sound, something that kind of sticks out to you. And it's easier to find something that sticks out to you from like another country where they speak a different language, because that in and of itself kind of does sound different just to our ears, you know. And I feel
Mhm.
like a lot of people are interested and I don't want to say like fetishize because that's like weird, but like they enjoy other people's languages and they really like
Yeah.
the sound of other people's languages. So I feel like that kind of contributes to other people to people's consumption of like foreign music, and I think it's a really great thing. Really, um, being able to accept other people's cultures and learn more about other people's cultures through their music, because like I said before, music really is a lot more than just sounds and songs that we're into, but it really does come from like who you are and who you're trying to portray yourself to be, and speaking to like your audience of listeners and stuff like that. So the enjoyment of like foreign music, I feel like is just the acceptance of other cultures, which I hope that it is, and it's not just like they speak another language so it's cool kind of thing, but it's really like,
Yeah.
oh, I am able to enjoy music from another person's culture, and that like speaks to like who they are, and I'm able to accept that because of the music, kind of thing.
Yeah, because like when you yeah like when you listen to other people's music or other like languages music, you kind of do get a taste of their culture, and you see like if you look up like the translation of their lyrics, you kind of see like what they value in
Hmm.
their
Yeah.
culture. Like if you look at the lyrics of our music nowadays, it's very you know there's a lot of money, a lot of money driven, fame, you know, temporary highs, I guess, with
Hmm.
drugs and sex and so stuff like that. But that's why I guess that's why like it's really popular to really like see what their value is in their culture, and it's nice to get another like get refreshed. I guess
Yeah.
if I'm making sense.
Yeah.
But yeah,